I'm gonna show you how to lose the weight and actually keep it off this time. I do this without hours of cardio, and I promise you by eating more than you ever have before. Just wait and see the system. This system really does work. I use it with all my clients, and here is a lot of their results, but this is the exact system that I use with all kinds of clients. Now, I work with people of all shapes and sizes. Literally, my oldest client is 77 years old. My youngest client is like 22 or 23 years old. I don't exactly know how old she is, but I work with men and women and people who claim to be extremely busy and people who claim to have too much time on their hands and therefore they're eating due to boredom. I work with all kinds of people and these are the results. I'm going to break down my entire 4-dial system, that's what I call it, so that you can actually apply it to yourself and lose your chest, your stomach, your face, your leg fat, and I promise this works no matter what you want to shape up and make look better. And finally, I'm actually going to take you behind the scenes and review one of my clients' numbers so you can see exactly how the app works and how my system works and how it can help you, but also to see the results of someone who's absolutely crushing it, who weighs, over 400 pounds and is well on their way down. At the time that I was thinking about this video, he lost 9 pounds in a week. Now that's not typical, so don't get too excited by that, but I think he's up to 11 pounds in 8 or 9 days. Now he has a lot of weight to lose and that helps whenever you have a lot of weight to lose, but still, this system really does work. Okay, so check this out. The base of the system is your steps and NEAT, and I'll explain what that is in just a minute, combined with your calories and then protein. And then the key thing here that really makes such a big difference is gonna be your exercise. I'm gonna explain that. It's not gonna be a ton of cardio. It's actually gonna be the opposite, but we're just gonna put for now, exercise. Now I call this my dial system, and I'm not a good artist, so I didn't draw dials, but because you can dial them in. You can dial something up or down, you can dial a couple of them down, and because you're dialing a couple of them down at once, you're not extremely suffering in any one direction. So if a person only reduces their calories in order to lose weight, they're gonna be eating very little eventually, and that's what's gonna cause them to fail. Or if all they're doing is a bunch of running and a bunch of exercise and a bunch of cardio in order to lose weight, that will work. It's just, since these other things haven't been adjusted for, they're gonna have to exercise a lot, and that's probably unsustainable. But if we can move your steps a little bit up and we can move your calories a little bit down and your protein a little bit up and your exercise a little bit up, dialing them all in, once they're set, in theory, all you have to do is follow the system and you will be losing weight. And if it's not working, you just dial something a little bit different and then you will start losing weight. It's really cool when you have control of all 4 aspects of your weight loss plan at the same time. Okay, so let's get into this. Like I said, the fourth one over here, your exercise, is gonna be the most important, but we're gonna start with the base of it, the foundation of it, which is gonna be your NEAT. N-E-A-T, that is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This takes place, obviously this is non-exercise, so anything outside of exercise. This takes place mainly, in my opinion, through the form of steps. Now, what I have my clients do at first is I have them tracking their steps on their phone or a cheap pedometer or anything like that. I can show you the pedometer that I use. It is this, what does that say? 3D pedometer, Neskla. Now I take a lot of steps per day. I take somewhere around 16,000, 14,000, 16,000 steps a day, but it doesn't matter. It's not about getting more steps. It's about dialing in your steps. So that cheap pedometer, it's like 20 bucks for 2 of them on Amazon. That will get you an accurate reading. If you leave your phone in your pocket most of the time, whenever you're moving around, you're gonna get a relatively accurate reading. So let's say that your steps come in somewhere around 5,000 every single day. So what I do with my clients is I say, okay, let's dial that up just a little bit. Let's try to stretch you to 6,000. Just add 1,000 steps. If you're at 8,000, you might want to do 9,500. Just pick something to shoot for, a non-negotiable every single day, getting your 6,000 steps. That's going to dial up your calorie burn just a little bit from your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that particular dial. Then you would want to talk about the other dials and dialing those in as well. But I want to answer real quick, why do I focus mainly on steps? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis involves things like bobbing your head and obviously walking, fidgeting, and pardon if I spell something wrong, fidgeting, who knows. Fidgeting, random movements, listening to music and kind of, like I said, bobbing your head, tapping your foot. I mean, all kinds of things go into this, and this is usually subconscious, and you'll have people argue that unless it's subconscious, it doesn't really belong in NEAT, that steps count as exercise, and I think that's a bunch of hoopla. Your steps are anything outside of your your exercise that is getting counted up as movement. And so that is the main thing that we're going to be worried about in regards to NEAT. Now for my clients, whenever they are doing cardio, walking on the treadmill or whatever, I still let that go into their overall steps, because it doesn't really matter if this qualifies as NEAT or exercise steps. It doesn't matter. It's as long as your movement has been dialed up in the slightest just a little bit. Now let's talk about the other aspect of one of the dials, which is going to be your calories and your food logging. Now, if this is you saying, oh my gosh, he's going to talk about food logging, I'm out. Don't worry, you don't have to food log forever, but I do want you food logging temporarily at the very least. Now I still food log partly because it's my job and I want to teach people how to do it optimally. So I still food log, and my streaks usually are, 300 days before I miss one, and then there's just a bunch of long streaks of food logging. But again, that's my job. You don't necessarily have to do it all the time, although I think that will really, really help you. But at the very least, I want you food logging for about 2 weeks, just to get an intake of what things are really high in calories that I don't feel like are worth it, what things are really low in calories that I feel like are more worth it for me and keep me more full. And especially as you're diving into recipes, because that's the other side of this dial, you're gonna notice that, wow, these things are keeping me very, very full. Now I have a recipe book that I share with a lot of my clients, and it's very high protein, high volume food for very low calories. Typically people find they can't even finish the meal sometimes. And that's a good problem to have whenever you're like, I can't even reach the calories that my trainer has given me, and yet I'm still losing weight. It's a very good place to be. Now, when it comes to food logging, I want to encourage you that it is a skill like anything else. At first, you might find that you are not very good at it and that it's kind of frustrating. As you practice, as you put things, my favorite thing to use is MyFitnessPal, so I'll talk about it from that regard, but you can use any app you want, or even a journal or whatever. But especially with the apps, whenever you log something that you have eaten, it goes into your history. And so there's only so many foods that you eat throughout a given day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Typically, people are hard pressed to find 100 different foods that they eat. So once you log those 100 foods, you tend to eat them in roughly the same quantities. You almost just tap on old things and just add them back in. So it gets a lot easier. You get a lot faster with it. And I promise at first, it might feel like you're spending an hour or 2 hours a day food logging, figuring things out. I swear it gets down to about 5 to 7 minutes a day where you're actually doing this stuff. Now that's because I'm a big believer in recipes and learning to get in the kitchen and make your own food. It is so empowering whenever you know exactly what's going in your food, and you can make them high protein, high vegetable. If you like vegetables, you don't necessarily have to do that, but you know exactly what's going in your body. You can fill up your stomach and make yourself feel full without sacrificing the food side of things, where you feel like you're eating like nothing in order to lose weight. So it's a win-win. Now, in relation to the dial system, the only thing this looks like is like if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet and you find that you're not losing weight, we might dial up your steps a little bit and dial down just a little bit to 1,700. I don't know why I wrote the 7 first. 1,700. We might even do 1,800 calories. And by you moving a little bit more and then dialing back your calories a little bit more, now you're getting supreme, very sustainable weight loss. You didn't have to cut it down to 1,500 and then 1,200 because we were using the other dials to manipulate your energy expenditure, not just taking away from calories. And then with the recipe side of things, although that doesn't perfectly fit like a dial, you could dial it up in terms of how many foods am I making, 85% of my meals at home. And now I'm looking for, I might ask my clients temporarily, let's do 92% of our meals at home. And although this doesn't end up looking, that might just be one extra meal a week. But the point is that we're dialing up the amount of foods that you're actually eating at home and that you're making, so you can control exactly what's going into your body. And that tends to just really start to get a person results when they have every aspect of their fitness down. They don't feel lost because, hey, I've cut calories, but I'm not losing weight, because the other aspects of their plan are out of control. And that's where the dial system comes in. Now, protein is extremely similar to your calories, and you might wonder, why is that even a separate dial? By eating more protein, you tend to feel more full and accidentally eat less calories. It also costs more in terms of calories to break down what you're eating. So for protein, it's somewhere around 70-75% is the calories you actually are able to use from what you take in. So if you eat 100 calories of chicken breast, you're only going to be able to use about 70 to 75 calories of those. So you're getting free calorie burn by increasing your protein. Now, the other macronutrients play such a vital role in a person's health that I wouldn't want a person to go too high on protein, but sometimes we dial up the protein a little bit from, let's say, 30% to 35%, even 40%, depending on a person's numbers, whenever I'm breaking down my clients' numbers. And that combined with, a little tweak on protein, this, you can kind of see how the dial system's coming together. A little bit tweak up on protein, tweak it up or dial it up a little bit on the steps, dial it down a little bit on the calories. And it's hard not to lose weight whenever you really are combining all these factors. Okay, so now the last dial, and this is what I'm most excited about in terms of my system and for, helping you, is your workouts. So I would focus on 2 to 3 total body workouts per week, at least to start. You can always split that up and do like a upper lower on Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, upper lower. You could end up going to a 6-day a week split, but especially for beginners and someone who might be new to this style of lifting, which we're about to talk about in a second, 2 to 3 total body workouts per week seems to be the sweet spot in my opinion. Number 2, and this is the key, this is what has changed everything for me, and I'm gonna show you a little bit more about that, but it is training hard enough. I never was training hard enough before. In fact, I was training so lightly, what I thought was difficult, and a lot of beginners make this exact same mistake. I'll see in the gym where people are they're not working hard enough. And I know that sounds cliche, where, just work harder. And that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but we do have to take our sets close to failure. Now, I'm gonna go more into details. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I'm gonna show you in upcoming vlogs and everything exactly what hard enough looks like. And I can really help you, I think, with that. But what I look for with my clients is something called sticky reps. So, I call them sticky reps. I shouldn't say it's something called sticky reps. So let's say you're doing a bicep curl and you're on rep 1 and 2, and then eventually you're on rep 13, and then 14 is gonna be a real grind, and you get up to 14, and that is what your set looks like. 13 and 14 were 2 sticky reps. I try to go 2 to 3 sticky reps into a set before putting the weight down. And sometimes it will shock you. You're like, I normally would have stopped at 10, but the bar speed, the speed of the weight moving up or whatever exercise it is, hasn't slowed down. And it will shock you. If you force yourself to continue going until the bar speed slows down, it will shock you how far away from failure you actually were. Whenever I started training close to failure, and I'm gonna draw this out for you real quick. Whenever I started training close to failure, everything was unlocked for me in terms of weight loss. It is so much easier. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why I think that's happening. Now, most of what I quote whenever I'm helping people, most of what I teach about is based off science and the scientific literature. And yes, my own experience, but I try to keep that out as much as possible. What I'm about to tell you about is purely my own experience. So take this with a grain of salt, but it is working with my clients as well. So there's lots of anecdotal evidence. It's just, this is me. It makes logical sense. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Okay, so this is just something I drew up real quick. Hopefully this makes sense. So let's say this is the calories that you need. This is also called your total daily energy expenditure. Let's say this is everything that you need in order to maintain your current weight. Whenever you are in a 300 to 500 calorie deficit, that deficit right there has to be taken from somewhere. That's usually going to be taken from body fat, assuming a person isn't crash dieting or something, because that's a small enough deficit to where it's going to take it from body fat and not muscle. And so that's typically how a person will lose weight. But whenever you start lifting, especially whenever you're new, there's these things called newbie gains. You probably have heard of them. It really is a moment where, a moment in time for about a year or 3, where your body responds extra well to stimulus because it's just not used to it. I think whenever you're working out hard enough, and that's supposed to be a little muscle, hopefully I'm not an artist. So that's a little muscle right there. Whenever you work out and that muscle gets bigger, especially at first, your body, this is where my opinion comes in. I think it's saying to itself, I need muscle. This is crazy hard. This is so much more difficult than anything I've ever done. I must add muscle. Instead of saying, well, we don't have the calories to do it, so we're not going to add muscle, I think your body takes an additional 500 calorie deficit, or 500 calories needed, or, put any number on it, 300, 400 calories needed, 700 calories needed, whatever it is, in order to force that muscle build at first. Now, if a person is like 3 or 5 years into their journey, I think this is going to completely stop this phenomenon that I'm talking about, where the body will force muscle growth and it has to take the energy from somewhere, so it's going to be body fat. But especially if you're new to this, and if you're watching this video, you're probably relatively new to this, and even if you've been working out and you wouldn't call yourself new, if you have never worked out hard enough, and I'm embarrassed to say, I think that was me, and I think my body is experiencing newbie gains right now, even though I've been a trainer for almost 10 years, because I was not working out nearly hard enough or consistent enough, if I'm being honest. But if you're new to being consistent and working out hard enough, I still think you have these newbie gains in the tank. And your body is gonna say, I must add muscle as my only option. This is way too hard. So instead of just leaving it, because I don't have enough calories, it's going to take it from the calories stored on your body in the form of body fat. And so this allows you, a lot of times what I'll do with my clients is I will actually have them eat their original deficit. So that original 300 to 500 calorie deficit, oh, there's too much of a glare, but if there's a 300 to 500 calorie deficit that they were eating originally, I'll actually have them eat that again. And then even though it slows down their weight loss, instead of losing 2 pounds a week, they might be losing 1 pound a week. They don't feel, and they not only do they not feel any suffering whatsoever, any discomfort whatsoever, they don't feel like they're dieting at all, but they especially, they can't even get their calories. That's what's amazing, is they're eating and they're like, Aaron, I'll tell them a lot of times, hey, because I do phone consultations and voice memos and everything with them. I'll tell them, hey, that's too few calories, you got to eat more. And they're like, I'm trying, what do I do? And then I'll usually have them eat peanut butter or something because it's an easy way of getting calories in at the end of the day. But it kind of depends on the person's situation. But anyways, this is the thing that really unlocked it for me and has unlocked it for my clients, that has been working so well. And this is the key to keeping your weight off. If you suffered on the way to weight loss, let's say by eating less and doing a lot of cardio, your metabolism by the end is going to be slower. Now your metabolism, your daily energy expenditure is going to be a little bit less at the end of a weight loss journey, no matter what, because you're just shedding so much fat. But whenever you have more muscle is not a very efficient tissue. It burns a whole lot of energy for what it is. Burns a whole lot more than fat. And so your metabolism is going to be a lot higher. You're not going to have to, keep eating like a bird in order to maintain that weight loss, because you're actually going to be helping your metabolism out, not hurting it along the way. Okay, so who is my system not for? I want to make sure that if this is you, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you. And so number one, it is not for people looking to crash diet or lose a bunch of weight really, really fast. That's not my system. It is, although a person by the end of my program has had quite the transformation, it's because they're building muscle and losing fat at the same time and they're recomping, not because we're crash dieting on the way there. If a person wants to crash diet on the way there, typically they're going to regain the weight, and I don't want to hurt them and be a part of that process. So this program is not for you. Number two, this is for people who want to exercise. So if you don't want to exercise, if you want to do this only through eating through a calorie deficit, I'm a big believer, because of that muscle thing that I just told you, that getting in the gym or a home gym of some sort, lifting weights to the point where you're getting really close to failure on most of your lifts with good form and intentional form and being smart and everything. Of course, we talk about that in the program. But if you're willing to exercise, this program's for you. If you're not willing to exercise and you just want to do this by eating less, I don't think this program is going to be for you. And number three is going to be people that don't want to actually put in the work when it comes to cooking, or at least, maybe not cooking, but at least putting their meals together. Like a sandwich could be considered cooking. And that's some form of, tracking your calories, at least for a while, and making sure that you're taking in correct calories so that I can help a person adjust. So if you're like, man, I just want to eat, out, just eat less, because you probably have heard the stories of people eating McDonald's. They just ate in a calorie deficit and lost weight. It is possible, but I don't think that you're going to get your money's worth whenever training with me if you're just looking to do it by eating less but still eating McDonald's. So who is this program for? So number one, it's for people that are ready to work. And it's the opposite of everything I just said. So people willing to get into the gym, exercise hard. This is a process, so don't worry. It's not like I'm just going to expect you to go in there and be an expert. And number two, go into the kitchen and actually make some food. Again, it doesn't have to be gourmet recipes. The recipes that I provide for my clients, they're pretty easy to put together. It's just really high protein. Typically, I'm going to have them eat some more vegetables, but if you don't like vegetables, we work around that. And, eating more fruit and stuff like that. But people who are actually willing to go to the grocery store or order their groceries to their house and eat food in their kitchen. That doesn't mean you can't go out. It just means most of your food is going to be eaten at home. The second one, I think I kind of already made the second one, so who knows? The next type of person this is for people who are fed up. I have been, and I'm about to explain my story in a second, but I've been exactly where you're at, where I have failed weight loss multiple times. Keeping weight off was my biggest issue. I could suffer for long enough to get some sort of transformation, but I was never happy with the skinny fat thing that I was left with, then I would just gain that weight back. So if you're tired of that and you want a new system, you want something that really works and helps you and a person to walk with you, this program is going to be for you. In that same vein, this is also for people who feel like they have tried it all. I have tried this diet, I have tried this workout, I have tried this YouTube thing, I've tried all of it, nothing works, something's wrong with me. No, it's not you. It's not me. It is your system, and I think this system is going to be perfect for you. So now just a little bit about me. I grew up obese. As a kid, I was very, very overweight, and I was obese. I lost weight from the ages of 12 to 13 in about a year. I did it in a very unhealthy way. I walked entirely too much. I think it was 75 minutes a day on the steepest incline that my treadmill in my basement would go. I listened to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory album. That has a special place in my heart because I literally listened to that because it was a CD. It's the only CD I had. I literally listened to that thing thousands, I'm not kidding, thousands of times. Because it was 75 minutes, I would have to restart the CD every single time. I gained it all back, and I've done that a few times, but definitely that first one was the worst. And that really messed with my head. It didn't, it wasn't good for my long-term growth and my mental relationship with food and everything. Finally, I have learned how to keep the weight off. Now that cycle has happened multiple times. And like I told you earlier in the video, I've been a trainer for 10 years. So like, it was a lot of mental stuff. It was a lot of anxiety and depression. And yes, I went and saw a therapist, and there was a lot that, there's a lot more that goes into this than just eat less and exercise more. And I feel like that's what makes me different. So you might be wondering, why trust this guy? He's not as fit as the other people that I see. You know, I'm not bad, right? But he's not as fit as some of the other people that I see on Instagram. He said he's gained the weight back. Why would I trust him? And I think it's because, well, I don't currently have the weight, but and I've actually kept it off for a while now. But I think the difference is that I am you, or at least I used to be you. I was where you're at. I wasn't born with good genetics, and I think that by doing more crunches, I'm going to get abs, because the people that have always been skinny, they do improve their abs whenever they start working on their abs. But for people who naturally carry body fat, like you and I probably, we need to lose fat. Crunches ain't going to make the difference. You know, I have been you. I've been in your situation. I have been defeated by Christmas. I have been defeated by my birthday or a family event that came up, threw me off my game. I've had to crawl out of that dark place, and I think I can help you crawl out of that dark place because I've actually experienced it. Okay, so let's dive into the app and see what you get, but also dive into just this the success story that has happened so far within the first 2 weeks of this guy joining the program. So this is my client, Eric. I don't use last names or anything so that, to keep them private. But he started here on January 6th, and now it is January 17th, I believe. So what, 11 days later, and, from 429 down to 418. So, now I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, he has a lot of weight to lose. Obviously, if you're over 400 pounds, it's going to make a big difference in terms of how much weight you're able to lose. So if you're closer to the 200 pound mark, this is going to be totally different for you. Don't expect this fast of results, but this system really does work. Now, what we're focusing on mostly with him, and this is what you get with the dial system and how it integrates into the app, is we're focusing on his workouts. And so you get this full workout, and each exercise shows you a looping video, if it ever loads. Shows you a looping video of actually how to do the exercise. We're not always doing free barbell exercises. He just really enjoys those, so don't let that intimidate you or anything. But each exercise is going to have, your history in it, and every single time I'm going to be trying to ask you to beat your history, beat your previous best, just by a little bit, just by one rep, or by, a few more pounds or whatever it is. Now, this system, it actually works. It works really, really well, as you can see. So I often see people making this massive mistake, though, that prevents them from keeping the weight off. And so I wanted to go over this story real quick of another client of mine, and then we'll dive back into these numbers. And that is that this client's name is Matt. He has fit back into his wedding pants. He's just using those as like a measurement of success. After 10 years 10 years ago he got married. I think it's longer now. This story was a little bit ago. He always, and this is the mistake, is that he tried to just take some generic advice, which in general, it can be helpful, and he tried to apply it to him and just force it to work. So running was his thing, even though it hurt his knees, and keto was his thing, even though he didn't really enjoy it. Now, there's nothing wrong with running. There's nothing wrong with keto. It's just if you hate running and you hate kicking carbs out entirely from your diet, then that is going to be something that doesn't really work for you. So we have to take what works for you, and we have to work around your exact circumstances, not just taking generic advice from Instagram and trying to apply it. So that is the big mistake. And in the Weight Loss Academy, I work with you to come up with your plan to help you succeed and help you actually keep the weight off, work on the habits over these 12 weeks, or sometimes a little bit longer if a person wants to stick around. Sometimes they stick around for an additional month or two to work on the habits so that you can graduate, I call it graduation, and go out and actually keep the weight off and continue to work on yourself. So let's continue to dive into exactly what you got here. So you got a things to do today, and this is really your home base where you can see exactly everything that I have scheduled for you to do that day. And if you hit it or miss it or whatever, I'll be checking with you. I check in with clients 3 times a week through voice memo, going over your numbers. I call them numbers reviews. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then Tuesday, Thursday is just like, hey, how are you doing? Let me know if I can help you today. So it keeps you accountable Monday through Friday, knowing that I'm going to be checking in with you. And that's honestly, that's the biggest deal. You track your body weight. I have people track that almost every single day because the pattern is what matters. I explain this to my clients a little bit, and most people food log, and that really helps me. And then we track their steps. Now, if a person doesn't have a step tracker that integrates with the app, that's okay. I just have them report it manually, and I just make sure, hey, are you getting your steps? And that's like a daily goal or whatever. Now, for Eric in particular, he really likes to focus on exercise. So I actually kicked the steps out for him because he just wanted to walk more. He wanted to do more swimming, things like that. And then we have photos and everything. I'm not going to show his photos because I try to keep all my clients' photos private. And of course, it tells you if you're hitting your best and how far you've gone, all kinds of stuff. So this app helps you stay consistent for sure. And so here is just a look at a person's calendar. Although they would never need to look at this, they just look at the things to do today. An overview of your training plan. If you have any goals or habits that we're working on. We're almost always working on habits. For now, for Eric, we're just working on the food and exercise side of things. And then if you want a meal plan, we can talk about that, and we can actually go into doing a meal plan, but I'm a big believer in being able to do this yourself and come up with your own stuff. So that is the app, and there's more to it. There's exercise videos and exercises, ways of tracking your performance and everything. So if you feel like you're ready to finally shed the fat and keep it off and actually make a difference in your life, click the link below. What that's going to do is that's going to take you to a form to fill out an application just to see if we're a good fit for each other. And then I'll be contacting you, and we'll see if this is something that can make a difference. I'm really big on, if I can't help you, I will tell you. If I feel like for whatever reason it's out of my expertise, or if it feels like you might not be ready for the type of program that I'm giving, I will suggest something that will help you. My goal is to help as many people as possible. And I promise, I'm not going to sit there and try to get you on a sales call and hammer you with sales information. Okay, I want to help you. And if I can help you, then I am going to give you an opportunity to work with me. And I'm so excited to help you completely change your life. So if you're interested in that, make sure to click that link, fill out that application. I'll be getting in touch with you as soon as possible. See ya.